Here we go. You're not seeing things, but we are having a triple today. Today's guest, this is fun. I tell you what, here's the kind of behind the curtains part of the podcast you don't see. I get to interview a lot of people. We're getting close to season 6, we're getting close to 300 episodes. And, some guests that we have here, we just click on a personal level. It's one thing, business and beloved for business. That's what keeps us going here. It's about a year and a half, almost getting close-ish to 2 years, year and a half ago. Another Gill podcast guest, Quinn Pack out in Colorado, told me, "Hey man, you've got to interview this guy at Bullis School named Joe Lee." And of course, I already knew Bullis School, right? Because of Quincy Wilson, right? I mean, if you don't know Quincy Wilson, what are you doing maybe in this sport, right? And honestly, I don't think I've ever told you this. Honestly, I was like, that guy's going to big time me. Come on. He's dealing with this guy and this guy. I was like, but I'll see. And here's the crazy part. I was at the Penn Relays and Quinn gave me so our guest today is Joe Lee, if you haven't read the whole thing, right? Read the description. So Quinn gives me Joe Lee's cell phone number. And I was like, all right, I'll contact him after the Penn Relays. Now I knew Joe was at Penn. If you've ever been to Penn, to try to run into someone like not actually coordinated, it's impossible. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And I'm not kidding. Minutes after Quinn gave me Joe's cell phone, I walk by and I see a guy with a Bullis School shirt, and I go, "Hey, you're not Joe Lee, are you?" You're like, "Hey, you're not Mike Cunningham, are you?" And I was like, "Wow, wow, 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 wow." And
I
so
remember that. We
that
were
was
above the bridge,
fun.
weren't we?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, exactly. It was right at the bridge.
I
Exactly right.
remember that.
And
I
so
remember.
we got it hooked up where we did, our traditional podcast. We had Joe Lee on the podcast to talk about his journey, and whatever app you're listening to right now. If you just search Joe Lee Gill Connections, you'll find that first episode that we had there. It was fascinating. It's my favorite. It's why I do this style of podcasting. I love learning about people's journeys, how they got into track, how they got into coaching, the mentors along the way, lessons learned. So we did that. And then Joe, just kept having this amazing season with an amazing athlete. And they go to the Olympic trials and they do, I mean, I don't want to say the impossible, but man, it was really hard to make the Olympic team.
Sure.
And here's this, just turned 16-year-old who makes the Olympic team. And I thought, well, that's pretty cool. Why don't we talk to Joe? He's a high school coach. It's one thing to talk, and we've had professional coaches on here and love them to death, but here's a high school coach navigating this. So we had Joe Lee back for record, first time that we've ever had a guest come back for the second time. And we talked about
I was
going.
tied though, right? I
You
was
were a
tied.
little yeah, exactly. We talked about the Olympic trials experience, what it was like to go through the rounds, what it was like to, put your athlete up against, these big dog Quincy Hall and Norwood and all these guys. I mean, it's a battle. It's a battle. It's a battle. And so what do you do? And then he qualified. So we talked about on episode 2 about, well, what do you do now for practice, things like that? Like, how are you navigating that? And now, we're recording this in, what is it? It's October. Well, he's done it. They went to Paris 2024 and they got a medal. That's pretty sticking cool. They got the actual experience. And I thought, you know what? Making the Olympic team is this really, really small fraternity. Like, no, it's special to have those rings tattooed. Lots of times the
Mhm.
guys get a tattoo. It's the same for the coaches. I mean, it's amazing. Last week on the podcast, we actually read out every athlete that medaled in the individual events for Paris 24. We read out their coach's name because I think that's special. That's a small
Absolutely.
fraternity as well. And so I thought, well, since I've become friends with Joe Lee, why don't we have him back here to talk about, well, how did it all go down? What was it like? What was it like to travel? What was it like to get credentialed? What was it like to prep the athlete? What was it like when they ran? Just the whole nine. Because, I hope this stat is wrong. 99% of us are never going to have an athlete in the Olympics. I hope that's wrong because I hope 100% of us do. But I know for sure, I'm never going to have an athlete in the Olympics. And so I wanted to learn from him. So help me welcome for the third time. We've got a treepeat. Is that what you'd call it? Help me welcome the wise, the wonderful Mr. Joe Lee. Joe, how are you, my friend?
Mike C, man, how you doing?
See, you call me that because you're Joe Lee, Mike C. That actually works, actually. I like that. I like that. Maybe we'll have that ESPN show we talk about
Let's
one
do
day,
it. We're gonna do it, man. I'm
all
telling
about
you,
track and
there's
field.
something out there waiting for us, man, and it's gonna be fantastic.
That's right. That's right. Hey, man. I've told you this privately. I always like to do things publicly as well. Congratulations, dude. It is tough. This is, we talk about how tough the U.S. Olympic trials are for track and field. And you've got guys and gals that, were NCAA national champions and, 5 years into their professional career, and they're still fighting to make that top three, to make that relay squad. And it doesn't have, there's plenty of amazing athletes, like people like worship, like, oh, that's my favorite athlete, and they didn't make an Olympic team. That's
Mhm.
how tough it is. And here you are. I never like to belittle and say only, but here you are as a high school coach, and you had that, man. That's crazy, dude. That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen.
No, I mean, again, that's why they call it history, right? I mean, somebody's got to, make it and create it and break records and do things that have never been done. That's what makes the all sports fun, you know. I was watching a football game the other night and just watching some things that had, never happened. This first time this happened. So it's kind of cool when that stuff happens, especially when you have a tradition of a sport like track and field that's been around for so long.
Mm.
And ours is one of the few sports that, the rules don't change a whole lot. Still 400 meters around the track, there's still 10 hurdles. The shot put still weighs 16 pounds. So
That's right.
if you're, I mean, not in high school. So, but you get what I'm saying. So yeah, it's fun, man. It's still, I don't know, it's still kind of surreal because I have to give you, this is a breaking news update now. So you're the first one to get this.
All
So
right.
he's no longer Quincy Wilson. Okay.
Okay.
He's now Coach Quincy. And let me tell you why. Let me tell you how. So
Okay.
we do these things at our school every year because our school is very community based. It's not a huge school. We have like 600 kids in the whole high school, right?
Mm.
So 630 or something like that. And so we do it's homecoming weekend this weekend. So we do something that the Thursday before the homecoming, the day before the homecoming game, we do something called Bullimpics, right?
Okay.
So like
Olympics,
class versus
nice.
class, like freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. So he's now a big time junior now. He's finally an upperclassman. It
Yeah.
still is laughable that this little joker has got an Olympic gold medal as an underclassman in freaking high school. It's hilarious.
Still doesn't have his driver's license, right?
No, he doesn't have his driver's
Exactly.
license. He's like, Coach, I might need to miss practice because I got to go to driver's ed. I'm like, you know what? This is like not happening to me. Some type of reality TV show, but it's funny. It is really funny. So no, he doesn't have his license. He's still not shaving.
Oh, jeez.
He's he's a phenomenal kid. So yeah, so we have Olympics, right? So the freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. So they have like a non-track 4x1, just like kids on the in the community who never ran and they just want to do a 4x1. It's fun. And then they have a track 4x1 now they created because they want to see like every year it's like, hey, which Bullis track kid can we put on our team to win? And
Right.
eventually like they said, let's split up the squad. So we have some pretty good depth this year on our team. And there's a lot of balance. So our senior class, I personally believe, and obviously I'm biased, but I believe they could be, if they do what they are capable of doing, this could be like one of the best runs ever in high school sports.
Wow.
Way to put pressure on yourself, Jolie.
Yeah, no
But they're
doubt.
really
Yeah.
good. I mean, you got Sydney Sutton, who's, she's one of the top recruits in the country. Morgan Rothwell, Peyton Payne, Gabriel. We just got a ton of them, right?
Yeah.
So the seniors are loaded, right? And I just named not even half of them. They're going to get mad at me because I didn't name. They're all phenomenal.
Right.
Okay, the junior class is they're loaded too. And here's how it works: it's two girls and two boys on the same race. So it's a mixed 4x1, right?
Okay.
So the junior class is not as loaded depth wise, but they've got talent,
But you only
right?
need
So
four. Right.
absolutely right. So we've got you only need four exactly. So one of our hurdlers who plays football, he jumped on with Quincy, and then we have Cassidy Hopkins, who's one of the top hurdlers in the country, and then we have a transfer who came in Alexis Brown, who she's phenomenal. She's about 11.5 kid. So they're putting this team
Wow.
together, right? And don't count out the sophomores. The sophomores are loaded. I mean, it's phenomenal. And the freshmen, we got great freshmen too. So anyway,
Yeah.
so I'm at the track yesterday, and he's like they're in like game mode. I'm like, these guys are focused, they're locked in. I'm like, what the heck is this? They're like, no, we're winning. We're winning. And then, I mean, they're going through their passes and everything. You have like a crowd of them. And if they would miss the pass, they'd be like, oh, not enough. Nope, not enough. It was crazy, right? So all this buildup. And I'm like, okay, well, do you need help with your lineup? I'm talking to Quincy now. No, 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 I got this. I got this. Because you're going for the seniors. I'm not going for anybody. He's like, no, you're going for the seniors. They told me, I was like, I'm not going for all of y'all. So anyway, so he's like, I got the order. And I mixed it, I switched it, and he put the order together. And he was so excited. Finally did come to me and say, hey, coach, can you help me out with these steps right now? Like, oh, now you want some help. So
Yeah,
anyway, so long story short, he's Coach Quincy now. His team, there's some controversy. You may hear about it on the ESPN.
yeah.
Seniors did win, but they knocked the baton out of the second runner's hand. Alexis Brown knocked allegedly. I'm saying, let me say allegedly. You have to say that now.
Wow. Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I always
like
had to say
allegedly,
allegedly. Right,
allegedly.
right.
So I'm saying allegedly. Allegedly, who was that? Alex Lambert, who is the runner who fell at Penn Relays for us last year, and
Hmm.
he dropped the baton.
Yeah.
Allegedly, he knocked the baton out of Alexis Brown's hand, and so the juniors wound up taking an L, and the seniors won.
Wow.
But there's a heavy protesting session. I think it's gone all the way up to the world ranks, and we'll see what happens. But he's Coach Quincy now.
You know what I love about that story more than anything? I worry about I think it's fair to call him a prodigy, right? I worry about kids, not even prodigies, but who excel in something, and adults push them towards, achieving higher and higher. And at a young age, they do phenomenal things, and then they get into the adult world, like they start like, oh well, it's all serious now, and it's about money or whatever, yada yada yada, and they lose at a very precocious age childhood. They lose
Yeah.
just to be a child, and so I love that this dude was like, in front of, I don't know what the stadium held, but 60, 80,000 people in Paris. And then the next day he's helping to win the Bull Olympics 4x1. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that's cool. Like I'd rather hear that than like, well, he didn't want to run because he's got his next season coming up and he just came off of long seasons. He didn't run in his schools 4x1. It's like, oh man, that's kind of sucks. That's cool. Like I love that, man. That's like honestly good for him and good for his support system around him. They obviously have a you guys obviously have a good like
Oh, yeah.
relationship to like what real world is. At the end of the day, you're a 16-year-old kid. You've done some amazing things. No taking away that, but you're a kid. Let's have some fun, bro. There's going to be enough
Yeah.
serious stuff coming up one day. So yeah, I love that.
Yeah. Well,
That's so
that's
cool.
about, I mean, it's still sport, right? So
Yeah.
again, as serious as we try and take athletics, and we all do. I mean, we're locked in, and I know there's, on the professional level and for multiple sports, it's a billion-dollar business. I get it,
Mhm.
but it's still sport. It's still
Right.
fun. It's still supposed to be, for lack of a better word, something that we do to take our mind off of our real life problems, you know?
That's
So,
right.
but you just remind me now I'm nervous because I got to go to practice and I just realized that he's an Olympic gold medalist, but he is a non-medalist at the Olympics. So
Oh,
I'm sure they're gonna hold that over his head. I'm telling
I
you.
knew there was something missing from his resume already.
Yeah,
There it
it's
is.
messy
There
because
it
they didn't
is.
even come in third. The freshmen beat them. The freshmen beat the juniors.
Oh, they're
So
rerunning this thing, obviously, right? Come
there's
on.
talk.
Yeah,
They're talking about
yeah, yeah.
rerunning it.
There's no talk. It's happening for sure, for
I
sure, for
think it's
sure, for
going to
sure.
happen, man. And the exciting part is there he was on anchor and he was ready to go.
That's funny.
He was ready to go. But yep.
This is kind of an off-topic question, but it deals with Quincy because I started thinking of myself as a 16-year-old winning a gold medal at the freaking Olympics. Does that dude just walk around all day with the Olympics around the medal around his neck?
Absolutely not. First of
Bro,
all,
I would walk everywhere.
hey, you me
Me,
both.
English class. I mean, you wouldn't be able to tell me nothing. Like, hey, Mike, your math assignments due. Where is it at? I'd be like, but have you seen this? I mean, what do I need math for? I mean, I'd be
Dude,
the Flavor Flav of 16-year-olds, but with a gold
absolutely.
medal, bro. No, I mean, like, no doubts.
Dude, that'd be my hall pass. Like, excuse me,
Yeah, yeah. Do you have a pass? Yes,
yeah,
I do.
yes, I do. Dude, listen, but no, I mean, he's so humble about it. And,
I
I
want to
mean,
see a
again,
picture of
so
him taking out the trash at home because mom and stuff are still like,
she
you still
gives him
got
a
your choice.
bitching.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Listen,
yeah.
oh, did you see that whole viral moment that went on with social media? Like, where it's saying things like, "Yeah, you have that gold medal, but you better take out this trash."
No,
Or
I ain't seen that. Yeah.
it was hilarious. It was a whole bit on like what mothers would say to 16-year-old gold
Yeah,
medalists
yeah,
to keep
yeah.
them humble. And
Dude,
his mother is all that. Trust me, she doesn't buy into any of
I
this.
love that.
It's so
Oh
funny
man.
because I mean, she's such a great mom and his dad's such a great dad to keep them well grounded. But no, she doesn't. She's like, look, all this can be over real quick. You better get yourself together, right? It is hilarious. So they are
That's
that.
cool.
But no, he's humble. And the first day of school, they because again, we're K through 12, right? So
Mhm.
some of the younger kids are just like, awestruck, right? So I think he bought the medal because they asked him to, not because he would want
Sure.
to. And they said, all right, let's get this out of the way. All right, so now that after this day's over, let's back to normal. Let's
Right.
let's allow Quincy to be normal, but also let's all be normal too, because
Yeah.
we're here for all the same thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's handling it well, but no, he's a regular kid. Trust me,
Yeah. I love
he's a
that.
regular kid, and
That's cool.
just
Good for
that's
him.
just experiencing a whole lot of irregular things, I guess I'll say.
Good, good, good. Well, let's hop into it, man. When we first last talked, we had just gotten past the Olympic trials. We took questions from Twitter about like, what are you doing training wise with them? Of course, we had to knock out at least, and things can always change. And I don't really want to get into it, to be honest with you. But we talked about, is he going to go pro? Is he going to go to college? What's all that kind of stuff? We addressed those kind of things. We do know that he's doing some college visits because we've seen some of the, you can't escape
Yeah,
all the pictures and stuff now that happen. So we've seen some college visits, so that's all good. I love all that kind of stuff. But we were prepping for the trip to Paris, so let's kind of pick up there, and we'll get into some weeds actually, because I'm really interested in some of the like just blocking and tackling logistics,
ask
and so I'm
whatever
gonna
you want to ask.
so I'm
Let's
gonna thank you. So I'm appreciate
Yeah.
appreciate that. I'm gonna start there. So like what you get done with the trials. You've got Paris in what, a month, I think, after the trials. I know he's going through, as an athlete, they go through a processing of, for uniform size. And I assume they start talking about, travel, logistics, and all that kind of stuff. What about the personal coach? Because, we do have a USATF staff, coaching staff as well, but we also all have our personal coaches. What do you, what are you going into at this point? Are you credentialed? Are you does a USATF travel agent call you to talk about your travel? Are you all completely separate on your own? What's it like as the coach while the athlete's going through that side of things?
Yeah, those are almost verbatim the same questions that I had as soon as all this stuff got started, right? Um, and let me first say that the USATF staff, the administrative folks and the operations folks there, they're great. They're phenomenal. I mean, there's just great people, and you think there's like this huge staff of hundreds of people. There's really not. There's not, and they were great. So. At the trials, when we realized he made the team, we stayed behind a couple days. So obviously he got, they credentialed him and just took all his information, got, his uniform sizes and just all that kind of stuff. So I stayed behind as well and just said, hey, what is this all about? This is nothing that we have planned for. This is the first time going about doing this. And, just, what do you need us to do? So here's the thing I didn't realize most of the coaches had already filled out all of their information. I'm like the one outlier here.
Hmm.
Well, why? Well, I wasn't thinking about this like
Right, right, right.
9 months prior to, or even 6 months prior to. I mean, it was an outside shot, but it was like I was saying to
Yeah, no
someone.
lock for sure.
It was. I
Absolutely.
mean,
Right.
it wasn't one, two, three, four, or five top five on our list of things that we
Mhm.
know we're gonna that are gonna happen. It's just we thought it might be an outside shot, but a lot of other things had to take place.
Right.
So the professional coaches at rightfully so, they put their things in months in advance. I'm like, hey, I'm the 16-year-old kids coach. Sorry to, inconvenience everyone, but no one, especially me, knew that we're gonna be here. So what do I do? So they were super nice. They walked me back and said, hey, coach, no problem. Took my information, had me fill out a whole lot of forms. And the Olympics work very different than the World Championships do. And they were very clear on that. Things are a lot tighter. There are less credentials that are available.
Mhm.
And so we got a unique situation because I got a minor here on the team, right?
Oh,
So
right. Yeah.
but they were phenomenal. And again, it was a very family oriented feel. Those ladies who were a part of the admin and operations support staff, and they were just really great. So um, because it's the Olympics, they give out less credentials. So we didn't even have enough. We meaning the Team USA side didn't even have enough credentials for coaches for people who made top three, believe it or not.
Oh.
So there's some coaches there who had an athlete as a competitor, and they didn't get the credentials. It's two different kind of credentials you can get. The first credential is to the high performance training center where everybody trains and eat meals and gets everything gets ready. All the medical people are there, so everybody had one of those, and that because that specifically Team USA is has access to and is responsible for. But when he gets to the other side with the Olympic credentials, those are very sparse. So they had to go first to the athletes who they qualified in multiple events, and some of the veterans. So and after you got down to that, if your athlete like me made the relay, it was very doubtful if you got one at all. And I did not get one of those credentials that would get me into the warm up area, which was okay. Which is okay. Ironically, the warm up area was like right okay. So how do I explain this? So the stadium is kind of in the back, and then there's this big like walkway or bridge like in the middle, and then on the other side, down one level low, is the warm up area. So I'm just being a high school coach, making things work like I have to. So I'm peering between because they had like the not the partitions, but like I guess
Yeah, like
like
the mesh.
exactly
Yeah.
that mesh exactly. So I'm like doing this. I'm like, hey, come on, get this going, get that going, and so that was fun, but at the same time, it was kind of it wasn't the most convenient, but I understood why because there's just not enough credentials to go around
Mhm.
for that. And I was still fortunate to be able to be with him every day because really where I needed to be is at practice and training, so we can spend time together doing what we need to do.
So going over, did you guys go in? I'm saying you guys, you brought up a great point. I didn't even, I mean, obviously it's right in front of my face, but I didn't even think about it. I usually think about two adults go, 30-year-old athlete and
You're right.
40-year-old coach. You did have a minor. I didn't think about that. Did you guys go over early? Like how was the plan set as far as going early for time zones and things like that? Or did you go like the day before trials?
Yeah, no, so good question. So I don't know, I can only speak for how, we do things at Bullis. So I am a high school coach. I say that all the time. I also coach privately, and, I've worked with collegiate athletes. Kids come over in the summertime, coach, they want to work on some mechanics, some, stuff like that. And, even now I have, we have some kids who are, looking to start their professional career. So, but it's all track and field to me, right? So the way we approach it is we want to prepare early and often, right? So we wanted to get over there as early as possible, knowing that there's a huge time difference, and also just some other differences. You just got to adapt to the culture, adapt to, being somewhere you don't speak the same language, how you getting around, and, the food and all those kind of things. So, um, but because he was a minor, they had to make sure that, someone was traveling with him
Mhm.
that is an adult, and everyone felt the best people to do that would be his parents, like straight up, like
Mhm.
Coach Lee's great, but look, I ain't mom and dad, and
Right.
we ain't traveling to a different hemisphere. So mom and dad did that. I came on a separate flight, maybe within 12 hours or so. We were
Okay.
close in
Yeah.
proximity, but I mean that was still, some other things I had to do work wise,
Mhm.
and just establish that. But his parents were the ones who took him over. And again, that's the way, it should be.
Mhm.
Now we all rode back together, or flew back together rather. We were all on the same flight. Myself, his parents, his sister, myself. That we all did that back. But on the way down, they took him there, and they were very collaborative. USATF was great in making sure that this high school young man, teenager, is well taken care of at all times.
Mhm.
Because there are places where his parents couldn't be, and then we had to make sure that everything was okay. And they did a phenomenal job. Again, I can't shout them out enough
Yeah.
Great job they did.
Yeah, that's that's just an extra layer. I didn't even think about that side of it, but yeah, it's okay to call him a kid. He is a high school kid for crying out
Yes.
loud, no matter how phenomenal he is athletically. So yeah, I'm trying to think like, my kid is going to turn 14 in 2 months, so 2 years younger than Quincy. And I'm like, oh my God, yeah, if we're going to Paris for whatever, it doesn't matter. Yeah, we're going with, like, that's my kid, man. Like, I don't care how awesome I love my coach or how trustworthy I am of whatever the organization is. It's still my kid, man. So
Yeah.
yeah, that makes
Yeah.
a lot of sense. So how early did you guys get over there? And were you over there early enough? Did you ever get acclimated to the time so that you have these natural circadian rhythms that you're on the East Coast? Did you actually get adjusted to what morning and night was before we had to actually compete?
Yeah, yeah, no, we got adjusted. So I think he got over there somewhere. It was before opening ceremonies. So oh gosh, I'm looking at my calendar now. Somewhere in that, late July-ish time frame. And it only took us a couple of days because
Okay.
again, you just have to discipline your body to like, stay up until this time, even though you want to go to
Mhm.
sleep and then go to sleep. It only took us a couple of days. It wasn't nearly as bad. Now, well, I don't sleep a lot, so it wasn't bad for him.
Mhm.
Me, I mean, it was weird times where it's like 2 o'clock in the morning and I'm wide awake.
Yeah.
But he's very disciplined and we talked about his sleep regimen and when he's going to go to sleep and all down to what to do when you wake up. So in a couple of days he was good to go. He
Yeah.
was good to go and I think the biggest thing for him and again it was the good thing is the guys on the team treated him very well
Mm.
because he did stay in the Olympic Village, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so and the guys treated him really well. And I had guys coming up to me even at the Olympic trials, hey coach, we're gonna take care of him. Coach, I got you. Don't worry about it. We're gonna treat him like a little bro. Um Quincy Hall, Quincy Hall sunned him, and I mean that in a very fun but very um competitive way on on the PS5. They are so competitive. These guys, in fact, one of the athletes said, "Listen, we don't have any TVs in the Olympic Village, but because we have to play PlayStation, I'm going to buy one and just give it away to somebody when I leave because we got to play our
Wow.
PlayStation, right?" So Quincy Hall and Quincy Wilson is not going to like me telling this story, but um, he beat him. Quincy's a gamer. I'm talking Mike Quincy.
Yeah.
He's a gamer. He loved anything, NBA 2K, college football was last big thing he's on. I mean, you name it. Call of Duty. He does all that kind of stuff. Like
Right.
he's really into it, and he rarely gets beat. Well, Quincy Hall beat him and was then he starts texting me at like 3 o'clock in the morning. It's Quincy Hall, like, I'm like, why are you texting me, trash talking me? I'm like,
Yeah.
yes, I'm up, but like it was bad. He was like, you better come get him. You should make us extra laps for this. Oh, it's beating him. Oh, it was just he was killing him, and he's killing me for it.
That's
I'm like,
funny.
why are you doing this? So, but no, they had a lot of fun, and I said share that story because I mean the guys really looked out for him. Most of the guys out there who knew him just kind of said, hey, if your parents not around, you got big
Yeah.
bro here, and it was I want to shout those guys out.
Yeah. I'm glad you told that story because that leads me to literally my very next question. So, media, social media, and I don't say that in a bad way. I know a lot of people started questioning, going, "The media tells us this." The only way I know this stuff is when the media tells me, right? So, on the uh, on Twitter, I see like Norwood and Hall are doing exactly what you said. I hate to say it, take
1000%.
him under his wing, things like that. This is your first time too. Did you have any coaches that reached out to you? It was like, hey man, if you have questions and uh, frustration, the same things that 16-year-old Quincy would want to talk to 30-year-old Quincy Hall. Did you have any coaches that you kind of like were relying on to help you navigate this a little bit?
So I knew a lot of those guys anyway,
Hmm.
just interaction with them over the years and
That's true.
coaching. So it wasn't so much that. So here's the thing, right? When you get over there, or when I got over there, I should say, it was almost like a subculture within a culture, right? So when I got there, some of the coaches I didn't know, they weren't really talkative or communicative. It's more so, hey, keep moving. But after you're there for a couple of days, people kind of let their guards down, and
Mm.
before you know it, by like within a week, everybody's like best friends almost. It's crazy because like we're all we got, you know. So you're in this different, you're a foreign country, and you know everybody's on Team USA. So I mean, it was very like collaborative, closely connected. So it wasn't so much hey coach, you know, let me know if you need something kind of thing, but it was more so like, it was almost like a fraternity,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak, and like hey, you crossed the line. It was weird. It wasn't, but it wasn't stated, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was more experienced and felt from people I didn't know. Now, again, some of those coaches I've
Yeah,
known for years and years, you
that's a good
know,
point.
from on the collegiate side, and they're all good friends. And they would and help out. But the ones on the pro side who I didn't know, we wound up developing great relationships because again, we're all in for the same thing,
Yeah,
whether we're competitors or not. Like we all want to see Team USA be successful. And I mean, again, I saw people who I've seen and known about for years and never had conversation with to where we're sitting out eating lunch because you're there all the time. I
right.
mean,
Yeah,
and what people forget, people are like, how was Paris? How was Paris? Did you get to see? I do a lot of sightseeing, man.
right.
Track meet, you know, and I
Yeah,
get it. Like it's a big track meet, it's the largest track meet on the planet, but it's still a track meet for me. And
all right.
so we got work to do. So
Yeah,
we have protocols in the morning. We got, you know, afternoon and you got working with the medical team. And, you know, then he's got relay duties and I've got to do, you know, his specialized training. There's a lot of work to do. So, yeah, it was not I didn't get that experience on the coach's side, but I definitely felt the love and built some good relationships with some people who outside this experience I probably wouldn't have had.
yeah, I love that. Talk to us about practice a little bit more. You mentioned you didn't have a credential to get into practice, but you had your. I literally can see the picture of you pulling that windscreen back. Hey, let's see. All right, now you got to do X and Y and Z. How much, like, are you? Maybe there's several questions here. How much are you practicing? Because you know, I hate to say the hay's in the barn, but obviously we know track. There's still things that have to get done to prep you for the race. There was a little bit of uncertainty, and we'll get into the actual competition side in here a little bit. But there was um, we didn't know if we were going to run on the mixed relay, the regular, and those are time spans between. So there's confusion to even what am I prepping them for? Is it got to be ready tomorrow, or is it got to be ready a week from now? Things like that. You have relay coaches, and I do love one of my favorite quotes in track and field. This is from Mike Marsh, the men's relay team, in an article in Track and Field News way earlier this year. He said, "If you're the relay coach, you don't have to invite." I can't remember if he said criticism, but he said, I'm paraphrasing here. I'll say it this way: as the relay coach for Team USA, you don't have to invite criticism; it just shows up. So so there's a lot of things with the relay teams, and of course, that continues to be a hot topic, specifically on the men's side. How much does a coach like Mike Marsh involve himself with you on a daily basis? And this may just be wrong. This may be why I'm not coaching anymore. The relay coach is very, very important 4x1. There's a lot of leg work and
Well,
passing and things like that, and relationships of how you're going to do that. The 4x4, yes, baton work is important. There's a difference between 252 and 252.1, and that can be in the baton work, but it's less than the 4x1. We still got to run a good quarter to have a good 4x4. So how much involvement is the relay coaches in with your relay with your practices? What are you doing for practice with this uncertainty if I'm going to run this weekend or next weekend? How does that practice, the actual coach, this is what you are, this is what you get paid for, you to coach. How are you able to do that while you're out there in Paris?
well, let me go back to something you said earlier, and I want to agree with that. In that, with what Mike said, Coach Marsh said about the criticism piece, there just comes with it with the
Mm-hmm.
job. I'll be the first, second, and third to say they all have a very tough job. They meaning the relay coaches. They definitely have a very tough job to do, because there's no way everyone can be happy. I get that, and their job is not to make everyone happy. Their job is to go after the win. All right. So the so with that being said, I understand and respect that. I mean, I'm not a U.S. Olympic team coach, but we have very talented athletes here. I have been in situations where I've had to make very difficult calls as a head coach or a relay coach. I get it, and so I understand that seat more than most. Now, I will have zero problem saying this too. Do I agree with everything that was done and said? Decision that I make? No, I don't.
Right.
And that's okay. But that's just like it's their right to make the decision, and I support and respect the decision, and they would say the same thing because I did. I also have the right to disagree.
That's right.
Because I know my kid,
Mhm.
right? I know my athlete. Now, I guess every coach can say that. Yeah, sure. I get that. So, your question around
Yeah, staying on the practice side. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So practice for us was we were preparing for him to run the mixed 4x4.
Mhm.
We have to because we didn't prepare for it and his numbers called, then we're not ready. So we were prepared for it. I will say this too. I'll go on record. I have no problem going on record saying that we were thinking we were deserve. We were hoping to, and I'll use my word. This is me. I'm not speaking for Quincy Wilson. I was expecting him to run on the mixed relay,
Mhm.
even at the very least in the trials.
Mhm.
Why? Well, because we just went to Florida and ran 44:20
That's right.
on a wet track and beat a pro field.
Right.
So if there's any question that the Olympic trials is a fluke, which I don't think there should be because he
Right.
ran three straight 44s, very few people ran three straight 44s. Even some people who made the team over him didn't run three straight. If there's ever a question that he can come out there and line it up against the big boys and do well,
Mhm.
we answer that. So we're preparing to run the mixed relay. What does that look like? Like you said, Hayes already in the barn. We're not going to like overdo it. We're and by now, our program is not, we're not volume based anyway. We're not
Right.
hitting you hard and heavy. And again, those everybody, tomato, tomato, everybody is more than one way to skin a cat. So we just believe in the way we do things. So we're just keeping them sharp and ready. Um, when his number was not called to run the mixed relay, which was surprising, not just for me, but for a lot of people. We respected the call, didn't like it, but respected it. Again, and this is a conversation that I have with the coaches, and they know. Again, I wasn't the one fussing and cussing, and you wrong. We had a conversation. It was a lengthy conversation because I needed to understand why.
Right.
Because I got to go back and tell my kid why.
Mhm.
Right? Again, it's just he's not a pro. He's a teenager.
Right.
And the way that we approach coaching is it's more than just the X's and O's. As they say, it's not the X's and O's, it's the Janes and Joes. And this is a person that I care about. This track stuff will be over one day. For him, I don't know, it might be 20 years. But whenever it's over, I'm gonna be there because of I believe that's what the impact. Somebody once said a coach can have more impact on a life than most people can have in 4 years.
Right.
Like a coach can have like one season with a coach, with the right coach, can have more impact than most people have in 4 years. So, I care about him. All this, the rise of Quincy Wilson, all that kind of stuff. Look, before any of this happened, me and him were sitting down trying to figure out how do we navigate freshman year.
Mhm. Mhm.
How do we navigate? Like, how do you navigate moving? From where you were um, based back in the Hampton, Virginia area to coming up back to DMV because it's where he's originally from, and how's that going? How how's it like being a 14-year-old?
Right.
So
Right.
those are the important things. So with that being said, okay, don't stay focused, Jolie. When I told him because that he was not running on the mix, he was upset. He was just upset, not in the most respectful way. Because you
Yeah.
got to understand, this kid more than anybody, no one is going to tell you, Mike, that oh, I saw Quincy Wilson. But you don't hear those stories because they don't happen.
Yeah.
And just to kind of wrap it up, so we had a conversation that will remain private to us.
Mhm.
And then we said, we're team players. We're going to do this the right way. And whatever they ask us to do, we're going to do. Um, but it was very disappointing, and it um it impacted him in ways that we didn't foresee.
Stay on practice real quick before we get to those questions about the actual competition and what he was chosen and not chosen to do. Um, is the relay coach, because there's practice and then there is relay practice. There is 4x4 practice. I'm assuming there is relay 4x4 practice.
Yes, there is.
How much is a Coach Marsh directing? Because what he wants to do at relay practice, I assume he's directing that because he's the relay coach, right? But
Absolutely.
that's going to impact what you guys, the coaches of those athletes, do for practice that day or stretch of days. How much, like, are you? Is there, maybe this is a better, dumber way of asking it, and you can expound on it. Is there relay practice every day, so you have to account for that in what you're prescribing for practice that day? Or is it like, hey, it's Monday, Thursday, guys, be prepared, we're going to meet at 2:30 to do some practice stuff? Like, how much is the relay coach putting volume, I guess, into it, so that it affects you as the coach and what you're trying to get done for the day in practice?
Yeah, it's more of the latter. So they'll say for the 4x4 and 4x1 for that matter, here are the relay practice days,
Mm,
and here are the times.
mhm,
Right now, they try to set the days and the times, and so it's not conflicting with anyone's schedule
mhm.
in terms of individual competition. So 4x4 is less technical than the 4x1. Not
Right.
to say that it's not technical, because it certainly is in certain regards. But really, the 4x4 practices were more so just making sure that we can bring the stick through the zone, and judging incoming versus outgoing, understanding where to stand in the zones for passes 1 to 2. Which again, this is why we felt we had a pretty good. Um, we were a strong member of the team because he's doing this all the time. He's in high school,
Mhm.
so
Right.
the
Right.
relays were not foreign to him. And
That's a
even
good
at
point.
Bullis, we're gonna run them, and we're gonna try to run the score up.
Right.
And we're not run the score. We're gonna give it our best, is what I mean on that every single time. So he's very familiar, but again, international rules sometimes are a
Mhm.
little different,
Yeah.
but not much. It's still, like I said, 400 meters around the track. So the good thing is, I appreciate that the coaches would make sure that the relay practices were kept at a minimal. Like, they're
Okay.
not, hey, we're doing 15 4x4 passes.
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Right.
all right, let's go round one. No, they didn't do that. It's just a
Mm.
couple passes, make sure. And then if we had something else to do after that, we can get it done. So it was almost
Okay.
an extension of our warm-up process, and it worked very well.
Yeah, good. So it's not like overbearing or anything like that. That's why I was
No,
wondering,
no,
like,
not
just
at all.
because it's one thing if, if I'm trying to think of a different event, a 1500-meter runner qualifies for the first time. It's like, okay, all you have to do, you and your coach, is focus on the 15. You don't have another coach barking like, well, we got to get baton passes or, anything like that. So with the relays, though, with the sprinters and the relays, you do have to have another coach who's in charge of relays. So there has to be communication. So I appreciate that they, try to communicate as early as possible, try to put it at a time. Again, it's, I know from the outside, it seems like, oh, well, why didn't you just do X or Y or Z? Why couldn't they just schedule it 2 weeks in advance? It's like, well, that guy has a qualifying round, so we can't do
Right,
it during that
right.
time. And so there's a lot more that goes into it than just simplicity of, well, why didn't you do X? Well, because that's not all we had to do. We had to do all these other things. So I appreciate that. So let's go into the competition here a little bit. It's interesting. You mentioned about, we kind of had. I know you well enough, and therefore I feel like I know you and Quincy well enough that I don't think I know you guys don't believe that anything is to be just handed to you, that you earn things. And so I understand where you're coming from of like, oh, we felt like the mixed relay was going to be on the table here. And in fact, if I remember correctly, our episode where we talked about after Olympic trials preparing for Paris, like I think we either recorded it or published it like the Monday after the mixed relay. And we're like, and I think we
Yeah,
can't
yeah,
we took off the episode of like, well, we can't wait to see what happens on Saturday, because it was a
yeah.
I don't want to. I'm trying to be very careful here and not say it was a given, but it was an expectation. Like, hey, this is where
Absolutely.
for a 16-year-old kid, first Olympics, man, this seems like a good place to get some experience on this side, getting in front of 60,000, 80,000, whatever people were there. So when you said and now we know, okay, he did not run the mixed relay. When you said that they told you, hey, we're not going to run Q in the mixed relay, was that a like how is that framed? And I want to be also very respectful of private conversations here, so you share
Sure.
what you feel is right to share here.
Yeah.
Was it, hey Joe, we're not going to run Q at all in the mixed relays, or was it step by step of, hey, we're not running them in the prelims, but be prepared for the finals? That's still a maybe. Like, did you know it all in one bite, or was it like, oh, there's still, I don't want to say stringing along because I don't think they would ever do that. That their intent was not to string along, but did you still have to be like had to be prepared for round two, which would have been the finals?
Yeah, so the conversation was a phone conversation that was had, and when the information came out, it was maybe the day before or 2 days before the actual event. And again, like I said, I was surprised because I felt he did enough to deserve at least a spot in the prelims,
Yeah, right.
right? And again, so let me. I'm going to answer the question. I'm going to be as fair as I can and say it from this perspective. If it were me, and it has been me, I've had to make difficult calls and things of that nature. My thought process would be, let's give the rookie, we'll call him a rookie, some international experience in the round of the relay that doesn't have the biggest stage. You hear how I just framed that? Let's give him some experience because that was one thing that was shared. Well, he doesn't have the experience. Okay, well, how's he gonna get it? Right?
Right.
So let's put him in, and I'm not throwing any shade at the mixed relay.
Right. Right.
Because again, I run the mixed relay. We hold the
Right.
20 world record in the mixed relay. And I love the mixed relay.
Mhm.
But comparatively speaking, the stage of the mixed relay versus the 4x4,
There's a reason why we don't end the meet with the mixed relay 4x4. We begin it. So
there you go. Right.
I 100% with that. That medal still counts. It's still your gold medalist if you win it for the
100%.
mixed 4x4. It's not the single sex 4x4. So we're with you. We get what you're saying. We're
Yeah,
with
yeah,
you.
exactly. So my sentiment is, well, why not run the kid in the trials?
Mhm.
And if the veterans, you want to go to veterans, whatever, the finals. Because again, it's not like hey, we went to Florida on purpose. We didn't have to go because you already made the team, right?
Right.
But we wanted to leave no doubt. And that little joker left no doubt.
No doubt.
Okay, I was watching something actually last night, and that this guy who was he put together something on Quincy, and I don't watch that stuff very often, but he said that possibly was one of the greatest track and field feats ever accomplished. A 16-year-old running 44:20. I'm like, yeah, no way. And then I said, wait a minute. So I think about it. Like for his age to do what he did, whatever. So
Mhm.
that's why I went to Florida. So okay, he doesn't get chosen. Great. All right. So to answer your question, were we strung along or were we told to? No, I mean I would say this way, we were told that there was a possibility to run the final.
Okay.
Um, so I don't consider that being strung along.
Yeah, strung along is an
And I
intent,
didn't mean
and I don't believe Mike Marsh or USA
no,
Team
no,
would have
no,
done his
he didn't
intent.
do that. He
I
was
just wondered if they made the decision of like, hey, for both rounds, prelim and final, we're not using them, or was it like because so there's 4 rounds total that you're concerned about. First round of the mix, finals of the mix, first round of the 4x4, final. So there's 4 things possible for him
yeah.
for the athlete. So that's what I was just wondering. Like, was
Yeah,
it a
yeah, yeah.
decision
No,
that was
no.
based completely on the first two, or was it one at a time? I'm hearing you say it was kind of one at a time.
It was one at a time. It was one at a time. And you know, it it was because the mixed final was, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the very next day, if not 2 days after.
Yeah, I think it sounds
Um,
right.
we thought, hey, well, there'd be a possibility, but it didn't happen. It didn't happen. And I'll say this: it was it impacted our training, and here's how. All right, I'll unpack this a little bit. Um, I'm dealing with a 16-year-old kid, and here's I want to like also like clear up any controversy out here because I did something. Maybe this question will come out later, but I'll just tell you. We'll talk about it now. When he was not selected to be on the mixed, and then he also was when that didn't happen, he was so motivated to prove his worth. He went out there and ran harder than I've ever seen him run in practice, which in this space is too hard. But that's a 16-year-old kid.
That's right.
Being a 16-year-old kid. Sure. And I'll take that 8 days a week over the kid just cowering in the corner crying and saying, book my ticket to go home. No, he's right. Like, I want to show that no, I deserve. And he did. I'm like, calm down. Like, no, calm down. Coach, no, let's do more. I literally had to stop him from braggers one day. He was like, let's do more, let's do more, let's do it. Because he's now he's a competitor.
Yeah.
He's like, I've done everything. I made top 6 from lane 2, right? Which again, that's what we got. I ran 44.20. At that point in time, when he went to 44.20, he was world number 8. Not U20. He's world number 8. Right. And he feels like, and I can't make the prelims for the mixed.
Right.
He felt, well, anyway, I'll let him speak about that. But I know how I felt about it.
Yeah.
I thought he should have been on the team. And I said it, and we had a conversation. It was about a 30-minute conversation. It was respectful. There was no jawing back and forth, fussing and cussing, but I felt like I did what any coach would do in that situation. And so fast forward to the next practice. He's pushing himself beyond. I'm like, and it's one thing to tell him, other than going out there and attacking a little joker. When you tell a kid, and coaches know this, like you say, hey, listen, that one's a little hard, back off of this one. Okay, coach, gotcha. What are you gonna do? So the next practice, he wound up going out there and catching a hamstring cramp. I say cramp because that's what the medical, and I want to be very clear and on record with you, and because you're my guy. It's the first time I've talked about this. And first time, and he hasn't even talked about it. He said we had an injury, but he hasn't talked about the specifics. After he did this, he was into his first run, he backed off of it. He didn't pull up. Oh, you know how you hamstring like somebody, like he gets shot in the leg.
Right.
No, he just backed off of it and eased and stopped the rep. And I said, what's wrong? I said, my hamstring feels a little iffy. I said, all right, let's go get it checked out. The medical professionals there, which are some of the best in the world. Like, these guys and ladies are great. And I'm not saying that because I'm a company guy. I'm not, I'm still, I'll tell you. No, they were the real deal.
Yeah. And
they did everything right. And they put him through every test. And, they had machines that I didn't know existed. Like, oh, this is phenomenal. Like, oh, they said it's not a tear, it's not a pull, it's a cramp, right? So now, mind you, because he's this big story, this doesn't stay in the camp. It hits social media. Quincy Wilson's injured. Quincy Wilson's injured. Blah 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 blah. And the social media thing is going on, and so I jumped on. I'd never jump on. Like, I want to jump on a lot, but I'm like, no, they're not going to do this because I don't want this to be used against him.
Right.
And in fairness, Coach Marsh and I, as well as Coach Freeman, we were all in conversation about it, and they knew, but I went in there and said, no, I said, he's not injured. Okay. I responded to some of the social media stuff that was out there. Why did I say that? Because the doctors told me it was a cramp. He will be okay. It's a cramp, and we're going to work through this. And when I hear cramp, we get cramps all the time, especially at our age, right? You get cramps all the time. That's not me. I pulled a hamstring before. I know what that feels like. And also, I've also caught a cramp. So that's what it was diagnosed as. Here are the people who can verify that. You ready for this? His parents, doctors, and me. I'm telling you
That's
what
right.
he said. And that's verifiable because that's what happened. Now, some people can say, well, a cramp is technically injury and all, blah, blah, blah. Okay, whatever. I'm telling you what the doctor said. I'm telling you what we were working through. So from that point on, it was tougher for him because he's going through something now that he's never been through. He's in a new country. He,
Mm,
um, he's going deeper into season he's ever been. Although we've managed that
right.
very well, uh, ergo the 44-20.
Hmm.
He's in an environment that he cannot control because he's now disappointed and discouraged that he's not selected to do something that he feels he earned.
Right.
So there's a lot of factors going on, and he's 16.
Right.
So um, I think he handled that better than or as well as any adult I know.
How are you handling some of these things? And what I mean by that is, so I think I'm gonna speak for the world here. Yeah, I've never spoken for the world, but I got the mic, so I can.
You
I
got it
think the
right.
world expected him to be on that mixed relay as well.
Yeah.
That there is the athleticism. I think there's no argument, especially after to your point. I was going to say to your point about the Florida meet, but I think the trials, 3 rounds, show that that's always the knock is can they do it in the rounds? And he did it. And then he comes back and adds a little cherry on top with Florida, right? So I think athletically, we all thought, okay, he is still 16, though. That's one thing you can't get over. You can do a lot of training, be a lot of good, but you can't force experience. And so he is 16. So, okay, let's protect him and our Team USA. Let's put him in the mixed relay. He'll do fine there, and we'll run our vets and everybody else in the open 4x4. When that doesn't happen, and then the rumor of the injury comes through, how, like I texted you at one point. I think I texted you 3 times during this whole Olympics. One was after we found out they didn't make the mixed relay, and I was just, I was just supporting you of like, hey, you guys earned that. Like, I don't know what's going on, but and then it was after the cramp. I was like, hey, is everything okay? I think that's literally how I put it too, because I was like, hey, is everything okay? And then
Mhm.
the third one was after the 4x4, saying, hey, congrats and everything. But
Yeah.
I almost didn't text you though, because I was like, dude, he is getting hit up from everybody. Everybody know Jolie. So I'm not special. I'm not the only one who's got your cell phone and things like that. So I was like, I don't want to be one of 100 people. We'll talk after. But I was like, my love for you was like, all right, I'm just gonna at least let them know that I'm supporting them
Yeah.
type of thing. How are you handling the text? I assume coaches are walking by. You do got boys out there, so they're walking by saying, hey, what's going on? Of course, all the tweets, Facebook, Instagrams, TikToks, you name it. How are you handling? I mean, this is and you've been involved in some big moments. I'm thinking about like the pin relays, baton drops, and what Q does, and things like that, and the national records. This is a big national stage for you. How are you handling the media, social media? I'm gonna call it negative side in relation, and not negative like, hey, what are you doing, Joe? More of like,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
what's going on? Why aren't they doing this? And you're trying to get a job done, by the way, while everybody's got their opinions, and we're free to have our opinions. But how are you handling during this time frame all this text, TikToks, Twitters? How are you handling all that at this time?
Great question. So my first, foremost, and always priority is my kid. So it's not about me, right? So and making sure he's okay. And okay is not just physical. Okay is
Right,
emotion.
right.
It's mental. It's social. He's the only teenager there.
Yeah.
So a lot of times, like we were just friends, man. And I'm not trying to say like I'm some loser. I need to have a teenager as my friend. No, like I actually that's a badge of honor that I consider him a friend as well. As well as a coach. I'm a mentor. I'm all those things. But look, coaches understand this. You got a problem if they don't talk to you outside of the sport. And I'll say this too, coach, respectfully, you are the problem
Mhm.
in most of those cases if they don't talk to you outside of the sport. And I know what I just said, and I know I probably just upset a lot of people, but here's why. It doesn't mean that you have to, because some of us have athletes that are just off the chain. They're just crazy, they're doing crazy stuff. I'd rather you talk to me about the crazy so I can minimize the crazy or help you mitigate the crazy as opposed to you doing the crazy that I don't know about.
Right.
So there has to be a relationship
Mm.
beyond. I had an athlete who told me 2 days ago she was considering going pro, and she's not a Bullis athlete, so you won't be able to trace this one. But she is she was a killer in college track and field, and told me my coach never asked how I'm doing in college. And her coach is a pro coach. He never asked how I'm doing. And that impacted me. I'm like, yeah. So anyway, so I'm as far as it was a lot coming. I mean, things are coming at from all areas to
Yeah.
answer your question about how am I handling this. First, taking care, make sure he's good. Um, then I had to make sure that I was balancing something that you probably saw me in my brain navigating even through our conversation. I want to be fair and respectful to the decision makers, but I also must do my job by um, speaking up for my athlete.
Mm.
And I've never been a person that's been afraid to speak truth to power. I think great things that happen in history, you have to be able to do that. And I just spoke my truth. And it's okay. Like my truth doesn't have to be your truth. My story has to be your story. And we can just agree to disagree at the end of the day. Um, you said you're speaking for the world. Bro, this became an international story. Let's not get it twisted. I'm not saying that because he's my athlete. So whatever. This kid, what he did, and this is why I was so emotional in my post interview at the trials, Olympic trials, is because the pressure that was on him to not only achieve but to exceed expectations, and still with a smile on his face, still respectful, still keep everybody laughing and engaged, still because he's such a kid, like he gets it. He's not like, don't call me a kid, I'm a young man. No, he's like, no, I'm a kid. He said it. He's like, what did he say? It was one of those quotes. It was funny. He's like, I'm running grown man times. So that was a great quote. He's like, I'm running grown, meaning I'm not a grown man.
Mm-hmm.
So this story, Mike, it was an international story, and I will go as far to say it was one of the biggest stories of the Olympic Games.
Yeah. Yeah.
How do I know that? We got people like LeBron and Steph Curry coming up to him, asking
Right.
for selfies. Hey, I heard about you. Hey, man, you're the Quincy Wilson kid.
Yeah.
And look, that's a game. That's the whole different conversation.
And I'm sure those guys were also coming up to you, Joe. LeBron came up to you, put his arm around you, and
Oh
said,
man,
Joe.
LeBron and I hung out so much. I didn't think he was gonna make it back to the game one night. No, I never saw LeBron. And that's the point. Like,
Yeah.
he's got a lot on him, and he handled it magnificently.
Yeah.
So, my job, just to kind of wrap this section up here, my job was how I navigated that was very strategically, and I had some great help. I had some great insight. I'll give a shout out to Lewis Johnson. Lewis
Yeah.
Johnson from NBC. We became very close over the course of trials and everything, and he was a great help because he's just a great guy.
Mm-hmm.
He's not just in it for a story, he's in it for people, and his advice on some of the stuff, even if it was to his detriment, because when everything was going on, he's like, one of the things he said, he's like, Joe, don't talk to anybody right now.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody, including me. I'm talking to you as a friend. He's
Mm-hmm.
sending me text messages. We're talking about, when some of the controversy happened, all that kind of stuff. And he was so helpful. But there were several people like that. But the fact that he's on the media side, because he could have flipped it. Like, hey, Joe, man, we're cool, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah, 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 yeah,
and you
yeah.
just tell me, no, he was the consummate professional,
That's
but
cool.
also an immensely caring person, and those kind of conversation, and also people like yourself. Like, look, I read every text message. I maybe not been able to respond to all of them,
Hmm.
but I was getting like probably a couple hundred a day.
Hmm.
So I got friends. Hey man, come on, you too good at. Okay, well, this is a little different than respectfully going to pin relays. A
Right.
little different.
Right, right. So what was it? I'm gonna ask a question, then I'm gonna ask a pre-question so you can tell the whole story. So let's talk about good news. What was it like when you got the call that he was gonna run? And we did stage by stage. So I'm assuming it was, hey, we are gonna run the prelims, the first round of the 4x4. What was that like? Because that's got to be a pretty cool phone call or conversation. And the pre-question that is, did you even at this point think it was going to happen? Like, hey, we didn't get picked for the mixed relay, so we ain't really going to get picked for the open relay, are we? Like, was hope kind of fading away that you were going to run it all, or was there still hope for the open? And then what was it like when you got the call for the open 4x4?
So I don't want to say the unforeseeable happened, but well, let me say it this way. Um, what I've been told is that the world is they're trying to level or even the playing field up by giving us less selections for the relay pools. In other words, I mean, we could have took, I think we took six. We could have took 12
Mm-hmm.
quality, guys who can get it done.
Mm-hmm.
There's guys in that semifinal, like that could have been in that final,
Mm-hmm.
and we could have loaded it up.
Right.
But what I've been told is that the world was, they're tired of America winning so much, so less you have less to choose from, et cetera, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, Now it affects everybody because that's why like Femke Bol had to run, she ran the mixed,
Right.
and she also ran her 400 hurdles and she ran 4x4. So like,
Mm-hmm.
because they didn't have as many, but obviously, you don't have a lot of Femke Bols out there, period. Um, so because there's less of a pool, when the three guys made the final in the 400 and the three guys made the final in 400 hurdles, I wasn't surprised that we got the call because you need us.
Mm-hmm.
Is that too honest?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that disrespectfully. It's me being honest.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It was a need at that point.
Yeah, well, let me be clear. I feel like he deserved every bit of it.
Right.
I feel like personally he deserved to be on both teams
Mm-hmm.
based upon his body of work,
Mm-hmm.
not based upon he's the cute story. No, he's a
Mm-hmm.
killer, and you've seen him kill. Everyone has seen him. That's why the story is so freaking amazing. It's not like,
Right.
oh man, look at this man,
Right. Right.
little engine. Look at him
Right.
going out there, and he's not shaking at the line like Lee, like oh, and like everybody's feeling sorry for him. Like he's a good no, he's like a freaking. You ever see those bulls like right in right at the rodeos? They're kind of and when they let
Mm-hmm.
it, wow,
Mm-hmm.
that's how he is. When those gates fly open, you better watch out because he's coming.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Everybody saw that on multiple occasions.
Right.
So, but I wasn't surprised because I knew I'm good at math.
There's the quote. I'm good at math. With
I'm good at a lot of things, but math is one of my strong suits.
that is where we differ. That's cool and all, but there's still uncertainty until you get the call, right? There's no guarantees, there's no
No, yeah,
givens.
sure. Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so then what was it like when you got the call and it was official? Hey, tomorrow or whenever, however many days before it happened, maybe the morning of, what was that like? Because that has to be a little bit of relieving, a little bit of like, okay, because I started asking the question. This is interesting. I started asking the question on social media because I don't. It's I actually don't think it was based on Quincy, but Quincy fit this model of this question I asked is, are you an Olympian if you go to the Olympic, you qualified for the team and you don't run, like if Quincy would not have run the 4x4, does he get to still put the tattoo rings, right? I personally think yes. Now there's a
Yeah,
whole there's a equal amount of people that say no and you didn't compete, and I'm like, so I started making the question of like my example was like, so if I'm the backup center for the whoever, I don't pay attention to NFL, so I have no clue who won the last Super Bowl. But
right.
if our team wins the Super Bowl, but I didn't take a snap because I'm the backup, am I still a Super Bowl champion?
Right.
Yeah, you absolutely are. You still get the ring, you still get the bonus, and all that kind of things. So my thinking, like with Quincy, was like, hey, you still in the team. He's still helping people out at practice. Like, and there was relay practice. Like, he's still part of the team. And if he didn't get to run, he's still an Olympian, bro, in my opinion. So all that to say, there is some relief. I have to imagine that, okay, we're runners. We came here to compete. We get to actually compete now. What was that like when you got that phone call?
Well, the only reason it wasn't a phone call at that point because we're all together.
Okay.
And the only reason the other one was a phone call is because it was just proximity.
Yeah. I say phone call just as a
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah. No,
communication.
I
Right,
get
right,
it.
right.
I get it. So, but because the first one was a phone call, it was
Mm-hmm.
when we were told that we would not be on the mix. That was a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And but this one was it was in person. It was just in passing, or it was during I think relay practice. I think it was. Say, hey, we're gonna go with them. And it was actually not like right before because I was even told, what leg he was gonna run.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we were like, okay, like literally what we said was, we're here to support whatever you need us to do, coach. We're here to do. That's what Quincy said. That's what I said. And that's what his parents said. So like there
Okay,
was
Joe.
none of that.
Okay, Joe. That's cool. That's cute to hear. I'm gonna push back here a little bit. You're telling
Good.
me that right now in recording this, if Q hadn't been chosen for the 4x4, so he goes, he has a great experience, he learns a lot, but he didn't get picked to run any relay, and the results still happen the way they did. We still win gold and all that kind of stuff. That you'd be like, hey, you know what? We had a great experience. It's the way it was supposed to work out. We're fine with how it worked out. You wouldn't be a little ticked off. Hey, man, you are competitors. Uh, you went there to compete. You're telling me you'd have been fine, all good.
Well, so here's the thing. You got to go back to the mix. So, if we're going to unpack, let's unpack, right? The, the world was the world was bewildered why he was not on the 4x4
Mm-hmm.
mix.
Mm-hmm.
The world was.
Mm-hmm.
Not just me, the world was. Now again, I get it. It's not my call to make.
Mm-hmm.
It's the coach's call to make. And again, I want to go on record saying I respect the decision. I just respectfully disagree.
Right.
And anyone who knows me, that's what you're gonna get. I'm gonna shoot straight with you. You're not gonna wonder what I think because that's not fair. Like, look, the Bible says, "Speak the truth in love," right? So I'm gonna tell you the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So yes, I was disappointed in that, but forget me. The world was disappointed that he wasn't running
Agreed.
mixed. Um, if they didn't select him for the 4x4 for some chance, I would have been the last person to have to worry about, in my opinion, because I think there would have been such an uproar.
But for sure.
But however, to answer your question specifically, yeah, I would have been. I was upset when he didn't run a mix.
Right.
I would have been upset, but I don't think it would have been a waste of trip because there's so many other things and nuances that you get to learn,
Mm-hmm.
even as a coach
Mm-hmm.
at that level. And so it wouldn't have been a waste of trip.
Yeah.
Not for us,
Agree with that.
not
100%.
for us at 16. So would I have been
Right.
disappointed? Yeah. And there was a time where we weren't sure if he was going to run because, as this cramp wasn't going away, right?
Mm-hmm.
Call it cramp, call it injury, whatever. I called it what the doctors called it, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm standing by that. And anyone who says, "Oh, he's just lying," just look, okay, I don't care. I know what I was told, and I know what experience. As it was, it took a longer time to kind of subside. Some things you have a Charlie horse that thing can go away in 10 minutes, or sometimes you feel it for 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
The body's just how it is. I didn't know if that was going to be something that they say, oh, let's not, because of that.
Oh, right.
We
Mm-hmm.
didn't 100% know, but again, because I understood the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
I figured that he'd get the call when he did.
So what's it like? So we go to the first round of the 4x4. Now, and I'm assuming you're in the stadium. You'll tell us in your answer here. I mean, this is what you. I don't want to put words in your mouth. This is what a lot of coaches dream of. I mean, making it to the state meet in your high school is a big deal. I'm not. No one's taking that away from.
Oh
Making it
no.
to NCAA championships or your in NAIA JUCO championships, big deal, big deal. But we all watch the freaking Olympics, so we know if we ever had the opportunity to be at the Olympics and have an athlete, cream of the cream. I mean, it's amazing. What's it like? Your 16-year-old athlete. It's one thing. Like I think of like Lance and Dennis and those guys who have, multiple athletes, have done it multiple times, have 25 to 40-year-olds out there doing it. This is a 16-year-old. What was it like seeing him on the track, all the lights, all the cameras, the gun goes off? What was that like as the coach?
Um, I would love to give you some spectacular, colorful answer that it was, I saw the heavens open and, a beam of light came down and, it was the best experience that I've had next to having, my children and all that. It's what we train for.
Mm.
It was the arena. It was battle. And when we get prepared to go to battle, it doesn't matter if it's 10 people in the stands or 80,000.
Mhm.
The way we train here is we get ready for war.
Mhm.
So I was in war mode. I wasn't in, and so was he.
Mhm.
It, it was a track meet for us,
Mhm.
and a track meet for us means battle. And I'm not trying to diminish or you know how I feel about that kind of stuff. I mean, I respect those who've given their lives, for not just our country, but for anything. Some people
Mhm.
give their lives for their family or,
Yep.
whatever
Yep.
the case may be. I mean, you name it. So I respect war at a highest level, especially with my dad being a veteran and,
Right.
the whole nine. But yeah, we're that's what we train for, Mike. Like,
Mm.
hear me when I say we don't approach this sport any different than the greats in the past and the present.
Mm.
It doesn't, age does not matter at that point. It's, are you prepared to give everything that you've trained for, prepared for, prayed for, I believe for all of that in this moment? Are you ready to go? And I look in his eyes every time. And when he's ready to go, it's almost like everything else is inconsequential.
Mm.
So
Mm.
now that's how we roll.
Mhm.
I'm not saying my story. I'm simply, oh my gosh, this Olympics is the ultimate order. We just wanted to compete. And the thing that, and I'm not gonna say I wish I had it back because there's nothing we could have done differently
Right.
out in train. So anybody say, well, you ran them too hard, or everybody who was at that practice at the high performance training center, which by the way, I did have I want to correct something that was said earlier. I didn't have access to the warm up track at the Olympic Stadium.
Okay.
The high performance training center is where all of the US Team USA athletes practice, had full access to that, as did all the coaches. So we were there every single day at
Okay.
our trainings. It was a phenomenal training center and all that kind of stuff. So I just didn't have, like, the one time he was warming up, I
Mhm.
didn't have access to the warm up track, and but
Got
I,
it.
I peered through, but everything else I was there. Um, but there's nothing we could have done different because, you know, who can prepare for those variables
Mhm.
of you know disappointment and then you're you're going your emotions going here and then it takes you there like those are things and for what he like he listen, he knows the world, the eyes of the world are on him. He's just been prepared for it.
Mhm.
So like, but he's not again, he's a 4.0 student. He's
Right.
no dummy. He's not like, oh, y'all really watching this? But he's not taking advantage of it, and he's not allowing it to go to his head. But no, again, he had more pressure on him this summer in those Olympic Games than I'd say 99% of those who participated.
Yeah, that's probably a good point. Yeah. Yeah.
So how we approach it? Let's get ready for battle. Let's go to war. Let's be who we are and give everything we got.
I think the relays are different than an open event. Just like a decathlete or heptathlon, their individual events is different. And what I mean by that is if a if the goal for a decathlete is to win the gold medal and they do so, but they didn't do very well in one event, I don't care about that event. I don't go, well, what happened in that one event? Why, blah, blah. It's like, man, you won the gold. That's the end prize. So for the relay, the end prize is to win the gold medal, which occurred. So I'm not really interested in having a conversation about his performance as it relates to it, because he was part of the gold medal. That was the goal, was to win
Right.
gold. I don't care what the individual splits had or happened or things like that. So I don't want to talk about that. I am curious though, for someone who's coached Quincy for several years now, done a lot of relays, done a lot of good relays, knowing that there is a difference between when you run even pin relays versus the Olympics as far as Quincy and the team makeup. And I'm trying to be careful because I don't want to pit you against any other coaches, but in your experience, do you think he ran the right leg? Should he been more of a second and third? I'm assuming that fourth leg was not an option because there's a lot of other things that go into who becomes the anchor and things like that. But like, is he a solid starter and stay in your lane? First leg goes all the way in your lane. Was that a good leg for him, or could maybe? And did we do that to minimize him in regards to the mistakes he could make because he only has to hand off once, he doesn't have to receive and give off? Like, was that in your opinion as his coach? You've seen him in lots of different legs. Was that where you expected? Talk to us about that part of it.
Um, well, we had the conversation, Coach Marsh and I had the conversation prior to, so we knew that he was going to lead off. The rest of the world didn't know that, obviously, until it happened. And well, I'll take that back. A video got out that we were doing block starts and well, whatever,
Mm.
So, is that where I would have put him? No.
Mhm.
But if I were the relay coach, I think I would have done a lot of things different.
Mhm.
And guess what? It may not have worked out as well. A lot of things worked out for
Mhm.
the Olympic team on the relay side for Team USA. So I'm not.
There's risk each way, actually. You're right. Good point. As you
Yeah,
were talking
exactly.
about that, it's
So,
like you're still putting a 16-year-old in the blocks, by the way. There's a first place a mistake can happen that could be devastating. And he passed that test, obviously. But yeah, it's not.
well, yeah, and one of the things again, so one of the things that Mike was saying, he kept reminding Quincy is one step on the line is a DQ, right?
Which is different.
Yeah, exactly. It's a little
Mm,
different at their level. I think you can get two or something like that. But
that's
he's
a
like,
great point. Yeah.
so. But my thing is again, that's another reason why I wouldn't have necessarily put him there because, but again, they chose
Good
to put
point.
him there for whatever reason they did, and again, I was true to my word. Like we're gonna do whatever he asks us to
Yeah.
do.
Right. Right.
We're
Right.
gonna give it our everything. Now, again, if you're asking me as a coach to coach, not trying to, bash because I won't do that. I can disagree without being disagreeable.
That's right.
Um, I would not have put him in that position.
Mhm.
I would have put him a different leg, and it would have. But
Yeah.
it,
I was just curious because you've seen him in lots of different legs. And
no.
yeah.
Again, when he's at his best, and I will say this respectfully, when he's at his best, if there's somebody in front of him, you got a problem.
Hmm.
You got a problem.
Right.
I'm talking about he's going to hunt.
Yeah.
Now, well, yeah, when he's at his best, even watch what happened at trials. Even from lane two, which again, it was a learning experience for him.
Hmm.
It was a learning experience. Like every year, it seems like every year we go to Eugene, we learn. We, his freshman year, we went there to U20s. He learned, don't go at 200. Like he literally, he didn't get out hard enough, and he saw, oh, I'm behind at 200, and he went into kill mode.
Right.
Got to control. It's a control kill.
Right.
So, and I still to this day say that race right there is some of the biggest heart I've seen him run with because when you go at 200 in our event, the quarter,
Hmm. Hmm.
And most people crawl home, but he fought home and still wound up coming to like third or fourth. So we learned that his freshman year at Eugene. His sophomore year, again, sophomore year in high school, still underclassman in high school. He learned from lane two what not to do.
Mm-hmm.
He came off the turn in last, and he snatched three people on the home stretch. Now,
Right.
again, you're not going to snatch eight or not at that level, but he
Mm-hmm.
snatched three world-class runners. So when he gets people in front of him, I'm saying just
Right.
watch out. So for me, how does that relate to relays? Well, put a stick in his hand and watch what he does.
Mm-hmm.
And the good news is he's still 16. He ain't even 17 yet, Mike.
I know.
Ah, so we'll have more chance.
It's crazy.
And I'm hopeful that whatever position he's in, and we're team first, foremost, and always.
Yeah.
But whatever position he's in, he's going to help the squad. And but I just, again, knowing him and understanding this kid, he'll do whatever it takes if there's someone in front of him
Mm-hmm.
to do what's necessary for his team.
Earlier, we talked about, jokingly that, if I were, 15, 16 years old, I'd want a gold medal. If I didn't want any medal, it don't matter. I'd be walking around everywhere with it. I believe it in the Olympics now, and I think this is a recent change, that the coach now gets a medal as well. But I don't know if that's in the relays. Did you get a gold medal as well?
Yeah, let me show it to you. Oh, wait, no.
Oh man, I was like, oh my God. I was waiting
Yeah,
for you to pull it under your sweatshirt. I'm
like,
like,
yeah,
oh,
here you
that was
go.
awesome.
Underneath this Howard University gear. No, so that's actually the first time I've heard that about a
Yeah.
coach getting a medal.
I could be wrong, but I thought I remember hearing that recently, that the IOC, IOC, because I paid, I was like, oh wait, the coach is getting, like I was all on this. I'm like, I'm on board with this. This is
Yeah,
perfect.
yeah, yeah.
But I was like, oh, I wonder if that happens in the relay though, because I could be start getting some
No,
confusion.
that would be cool. No, and other people have thought that as well.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I have another gold medalist, but that I did not. I used to coach. I don't coach Masai anymore, but Masai got the gold, which
Yeah,
is
yeah, dude.
so freaking awesome.
We could do a whole
Um,
episode on that, bro. Because
yeah,
I mean,
we
good for
totally
her.
we
What an
totally can,
event.
and
Yeesh.
we spent a lot of time together recently. Even her very last practice, she did it at Bullis right before her last meet of the season, and we did some stuff together. But I'm not her.
Yeah,
I'm
right.
not her coach. I want to be clear
Okay.
on that.
Yeah.
But we're very
Yeah,
close.
good.
Connected.
Yeah.
But no, and here's the thing: the medal. First of all, by the way, I meant to tell you this: the medal is 6 pounds. Can you believe that? I
Is it
think it's
really?
15 pounds. Yeah,
Wow.
it's wild. So get a 5 pound dumbbell if anyone wants, and then just
Yeah,
add something to it, and you wear
dude.
that around your neck. So,
I would still wear just
oh, well,
yeah.
absolutely,
If it was 16 pounds,
absolutely,
I'd be like, look at this thing.
right. I mean, listen. So and the cool thing is like he doesn't like flaunt it around, but and nor does Masai. But when there are places, everybody wants to see it, so they
Of
bring it.
course.
I think that's cool because they could be like, "No, I'm just leaving it at home." They're like, "No, like they get it." Like when you win an Olympic medal and a gold medal in particular, like Olympics are different than respectfully anything else, in my opinion.
Yep.
Like it's for you, it's for your family, it's for your community, but it's also like for like the
Yeah.
country.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that both of them, wherever they're going, whether they're at a Baltimore Ravens game or
Right.
whether they're throwing first pitch out at the Oriole game, whatever they're doing, hanging out with Jay-Z, he did that. That
Mhm.
really, really, I was a hater then. I was like, listen, I'm telling you right now, buddy.
Wait, he don't even listen to Jay-Z,
He
right?
doesn't know any of his songs. He tried to name one. I said, name it. Name one song. He said, run this house. I said, no, it's run this town. He's like, yeah, that's what I meant. I was like, whatever.
No, you lost it right there, right?
So, but no, he's doing phenomenal stuff, and I
Yeah.
love it for him. It couldn't happen to a better person.
Good.
And same for Masai. Masai was on the pivot the other day, and just really doing some cool stuff. But they're really embracing the whole like, hey, this is a celebration for us all. So
How are you dealing with that mentally? I sit in a very unique seat that, I love the athletes. I'm so happy for Q and Masai and all the other Q and all those. I mean, it's amazing. I love watching them. I really appreciate they do it. But my life, my passion is the coach. I'm assuming you didn't get to meet Jay-Z. You're not on the pivot. You're not throwing out the first pitch. How are you I wonder, are you dealing with any kind of like post-Olympic hangover or I don't want to make light of this word of depression, but it's like I know you well enough. I know you're not like, hey, he is who he is because of me, but you are a part of who he is and how he's become. You're an an important piece of that puzzle, if you will. How are you dealing with and you are busy now. A lot of people are trying for your time and media and interviews and things like that. And I'm sure you're getting invited to go speak at everything, and you deserve all that. How are you dealing with that? Like, he's the star and you are the background, which of course, as a coach, that's kind of our bend in life anyway, as servant leaders. So I'm just curious that you maybe think about that when you're talking about Jay-Z and all these guys. How are you handling that?
Well, I think you have to be, first of all, you have to be comfortable in your own skin,
Mm,
right? So, um, because you got to know who you are and know, what role you play and what role you don't. And my value is not increased or diminished by what Quincy does or does not do.
right.
Just like his is not on me. Like this is his time to shine. Like he's he's Michael Jackson. Now, in this case, I would be Quincy Jones.
Right.
So
Yeah. That's a great and I'm sure analogy is the right word. But that's a
yeah,
great example or comparison.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, and again, right. So we do this thing together, but Quincy Jones was never on anybody's
Right.
stage, moonwalking and
Right.
but he knew his role, and for them to be successful at their apex, they had to do things in unison together.
Yep.
When you have someone who has Michael Jackson status, and I'm not saying Quincy does, but trust me, like he can't go to a store without people
Hmm.
stopping him. Sometimes
Hmm.
he is mobbed. Um, like there's for me, how do I handle it? Like I don't, I'm excited for him, and I know I'm very comfortable being me.
Yeah.
I don't, I don't, I don't need to say, oh, I'm Quincy Wilson's, and he would be. I don't need that
Hmm.
because that's just like I tell the kids all the time. Like track is something that you do, but it doesn't solely define who you are.
Mm.
So if I say that to them, I got to say the same thing to me. Like this doesn't solely define who I am.
Yeah, that's right.
So,
That's right.
so high or low, let's just stay grounded, and again, you got to be comfortable knowing, your place in your space, and in this role, I'm here to help lift him up.
Mm.
I'm a lifter. Others have lifted me in the past.
Hmm.
See, one day we'll lift others. That's what
Yep.
we talk about. That say, listen, God has given you this platform, okay, and I don't know what you're gonna do with it, whatever. Just make sure you do good,
Right.
uh, in the long term,
Yeah.
So, and again, he's already grounded with that, but um, no, I don't fall into any of that kind of stuff because I don't. Because again, at the end of the day, I still see this as an athlete coach. I see this like him and I. We have so many personal times together that I don't care if there's cameras on us or it's just me and him at the track by ourselves. They're that meaningful for me, and that means way more to me. It may sound cliche, but I'm okay with that. It means way more than the gold medal.
I did the world's most boring podcast last week where I literally with the help of another coach did David Burnett did all the work, and then I just took his work and copied it with his permission. But I literally got on the mic. Normally I have great guests like you on the show, but it was literally just me. So it was a solo podcast that we did last week. And I read, you know, of course, I forget everybody's names now. Oh my God, Noah Lyles. He was coached by Lance Brahman. Good job, Lance. And then silver medal, Brahman. And I did it for every event, individual event. There's a lot of international names. I just, again, Joe Lee. Why can't everybody's name just be as easy as Joe Lee? I always appreciate that. But I started over. But I did that because I want you guys and gals in the track world to be similar ask if not more than we know a Nick Saban, we know a Bill Belichick, we know a John Wooden, we know a Phil Jackson, we know like those coaches have done such a phenomenal job. We know when I say Phil Jackson, you immediately, oh, yep, Bulls, whatever, like Bill Belichick. You automatically think Patriots. That's what I want for Joe Lee. That's what I want for Lance Braun. It's what I want for Dennis Smith. That's why, like, when I watched the Sprint series on Netflix, like, it was cool seeing Noah and all those guys and gals. Like, that was really cool. It was cool to see the background of what they do to prepare for when the lights turn on. But when they showed Dennis and when they showed Lance, I mean, I was like, oh, like that was my starstruck. Like, that's my guys. Like, that's so cool that they're getting camera time. That's what I deserve. So I just, always want to pour gas on what you guys are doing and what you're doing here. Last two questions here, Joe. One is, and you answer this, but when I ask this question, I'm gonna talk more bigger picture. So the question is, looking back, would you do anything differently? You already said no, I wouldn't. But what I mean when I ask that question is all the way from go back to the trials. Would you not have run them at Florida? Would you? I think there was another meet somewhere too that you could have run. Would you have run them in that? Would you go earlier to Paris? Would you go later to Paris? Like globally, the whole thing that you did. Is there anything that you would do differently?
I don't think so. I think Florida for us was more of uh, a confirmation that this kid is for real and he's here to stay,
Mhm.
right? And I don't and we could have there was actually two meets we could have went to. We could have went to done something overseas, like at London or something like that. It was actually a meet the very next day. So I said when he ran it, he ran the 44:20. He was number 8 in the world. And then Vernon, that doggone Vernon Norwood, saw that and he ran 44:1. I'm like, so, and we're texting back and forth. He's like, I'm like, I know what you're doing. I knew you saw it. I knew you saw it. He's like, yeah, I did. So Vernon's awesome. All those guys. I mean,
Yeah.
listen, we had such a great time. We had such a great time. I mean, you could not believe, and I believe they're lifelong bonds that were created. And even when those guys are winning medals, we're coming up like because I don't know if you see this on camera or on TV, but when they do their victory laps, you're waving at people and all that kind of stuff. But the athletes are always looking for somebody they know
Sure.
because it's natural. It's wonderful. You got fans and stuff, but you can say this in the NBA. They see somebody they know. It's just a different experience. So having got to know a lot of them and see them, and then they say, I'm like, yeah, good job, Vern. Vern, stop. And he comes over to the stands to stop and hug me and take a picture. We do a selfie together. And then people look at me like, oh, who are you? Is that your athlete? Like, no, it's just a friend. Or, same thing. Bryce did the same thing. Bryce Deadman and Chris Bailey. Like those they're really great guys, man. And and the ladies too, Tara's phenomenal. Tara's, first of all, I know you do the coaching thing, but Tara Davis is hilarious.
Is
Like
that
she
right?
is
Yeah.
as ever. Like I don't know if people think she's doing this stuff for social media because she's just a ball of energy,
Right.
but she is. Let me tell you that she's phenomenal. And Sydney McLaughlin Larone, she's as advertised to. She's humble and kind, but she's also got a fun side to her. Just like so, being able to see them with their hair down, so to speak, and
Yeah,
just
yeah.
just not having to worry about being on was fun for me. But again, in terms of what I would do differently, I really can't say anything because this was really a dream season.
Mm,
Dream meaning not like, oh, we never thought we could, but meaning everything worked out even when it didn't work out.
mm.
See, I believe in having a plan behind the plan behind the plan, right? So what happened, like Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth. So we plan for that. All
Mm.
right, okay, what's going to happen if this happens? What's going to happen if that happens? I'm talking about my coaching staff and I, Coach Derek, Coach Dave, Coach Sarah, we have like 25 coaches on our staff.
Mhm.
So more so proves that I'm not the genius. And they're all amazing. But yeah, I guess the only thing I would probably do different, and you hear this sometimes, and I'm kind of susceptible for it myself. I probably just have maybe just soaked in the moment a little bit more because you never know when you're going to get it again.
That's right.
because I was in game. I'm game. Look, I'm like, yeah, this is nice, 80,000 people, but let's go. And that's not just for me. I'm like, let's go for Team USA. And I met some great, people over there. Just I made some really good friends and bonds with some
Mhm.
people on that side too. So we're cheering for each other, cheering for,
Mhm.
this athlete, that athlete, but just kind of like soaking in, like, yo, you're at the Olympic
Yeah.
Games, right? So I probably would have done a little bit more of that. But as far as a coach for him, maybe, you know, I don't know. Told a few more jokes. I don't know. I mean, but him and I joke around all the time. It's probably,
Yeah.
no, I can't say I would have done anything different, um, because it worked out the way it was supposed to be.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah, I like that soaking it in because, I do think and I do hope that for you and for Quincy, no matter how the future moves forward, right? I don't want to necessarily say you won't be as coach forever, but who knows? Maybe you are. It doesn't matter. Um, but you're right. Nothing is guaranteed. We talked about that from the get-go. You're not given anything. You're not expected anything. This could be the first and last Olympics for you as a coach, Joe. So I always want like make sure like okay, I look back very fine. I didn't miss out on things, but you're there to do a job as well, and I think you guys definitely got the job done through a lot of circumstances.
And I'm okay with that too. If it
Yeah,
is,
right,
I'm okay with it because that's not why I coach. Like, you don't
right,
coach so you can go to the
right,
Olympics.
right.
You coach so you can make a difference
Yeah,
in
make an impact, right?
like 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 if so that's why maybe it's why I didn't sit there and just kind of like soak it up. Now
Hmm.
was I taking selfies and having fun and doing all
Hmm.
kinds of, yeah, I was doing that. Like my biggest thing was like I was trying to take selfies with as many different fans from different countries
Mm.
as I possibly could. And I will give you a one ridiculous but funny one. So some of my close friends know this and family members know this, but there's a this is breaking news, as if anyone would be interested. Um, I apparently have a twin out there. There's a French rapper, yeah, named Booba, right?
Booba.
Yeah, he's a French rapper. And when I got to my hotel, there's already a language barrier, and the guy is there, stares at me, and he stops. He just walks away. I'm like, is my room not ready? What's going on? He goes to get his coworker. They're talking French. I took French in high school, but I'm terrible at it. They're talking. I'm like, what's going on? Is everything okay? Do you not have my room? Because if not, I got a problem. Because I can't call my homies up the street to, let me let me crash at your crib. And he says, Booba. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't speak French. No, Booba, Booba. And then he picks up his phone and he shows me a picture of Booba. And he's like, I was like, oh, they're like, yeah, Booba, Booba, you Booba. And I had my sunglasses. I normally wear, sunglasses when I'm outside. And I was going from outside in there. So I had my hat on, my Yankee hat. And so apparently this guy is my twin. So every now and then people would come up to me asking me for photos.
Is that right?
Oh, it was crazy. It was hilarious. And
That's
then
funny.
the last day, this one girl, she says, "Oh my God, I'm so privileged to meet you." I'm like, "Yeah, you're privileged to meet Coach Jolie, huh?" I didn't say that. So she's like, "Oh, can I? I'm so nervous right now." So I was like, she thinks I'm blue. I was like,
You're like, trust me, don't be nervous.
right, exactly. It's really not a big deal. So
I
yes,
actually,
that
I
was my
actually,
fun part.
I actually heard that story about that, and so kind of insider. You don't know that I know this. That someone told me this story, and that one night you actually tried to front like you were him, but then someone came up and said, "Hey, spit a rhyme, let me hear it," and he was like, "Ah, just kidding, man. All right, I'm out. I'm out. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding."
Yeah, you caught me. I was like,
I know. I saw
yeah.
your face. I'm like,
All
oh
I had
man,
was
I got him
all
on
I
this one.
all I had was Jay-Z verses. I was like, oh, I'm in trouble. I'm out. I'm out. Abort. Abort. Yeah, it didn't go very far, but no, it was fun, man. I
That's
mean,
cool.
that was my fun stuff. Just
That's
connecting
cool.
with people and the camaraderie and seeing the different nations. That's one thing special about the Olympics, Mike. Just seeing the nations come together, and it's
Yeah.
not about anything else. It's not about territory. It's not about politics. It's not about religion. It's just everybody coming together, and we can
Yeah.
do something like this is a fun time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's cool. I love it. Well, Joe, wrap us up. This is a unique experience. I don't have the experience of interviewing a high school coach who qualifies as an athlete to Olympics either. What did I miss? What, we've done this enough times. we have a lot of understanding of what kind of questions and style that I have. What's something you thought I might ask, or what's something that you wanted a story to tell besides the Booba story, of course. I know you really wanted to get that one out there. What's something that I might have missed here today?
No, you know how our time goes. It just flies. I mean, this is probably what it's coming up on 2 hours or something
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
close. Yep.
So, um, you know, I just, well, two things. I think one, I don't want the narrative to be like, it's us versus them because it's all us. Again, we can agree to disagree, but
Right.
at the end of the day, we're all in this thing together. Coaches, the athletes, the meet directors, the agents, the shoe companies, the parent, like we're all, like we're all in this thing together. We don't always have to agree, but if we're all working for the betterment of the athlete first, which ultimately is the betterment of the sport, I believe.
Right.
We're all going to be, it's going to work out. And I really hope everybody that I just named keeps that in mind. That we have to be athletes first. Right? That means others before myself. Um, I think, only thing we didn't cover is, the future, what's going to happen in the future. Um, and I'll say this, stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Because
I think that's your way of trying to get a fourth episode. And
no,
we know each other well enough, Joe.
man.
You ain't got to do that kind of stuff to get a fourth. You go get a fourth episode, man. We
Well,
fine. We
well,
good. We good. We good.
I'm saying stay tuned because of this. Um, we've got this saying that I put it on social media, not just for Quincy, it's just for all my kids. Um, we're just getting started.
Mhm.
Like, we had some success, we're just getting started. So with our high school team, like I believe this, if we do our job, like I said before, this could be, and others have to say it, but I'm biased. I believe this could be one of the best we ever did on the boys and the girls side, but we'll have to see. So stay tuned. Um, as far as an individual, we have some individual goals on the boys and the girls side that can literally like rewrite some record books. Stay tuned. With Quincy in particular, we have some different ideas of some different events that we're looking at, and it's going to be exciting. We are going to do some different events this year. I won't say what they are, so maybe we do come back for a fourth, and we can unpack some of them. And one will be a big surprise, or maybe a big surprise, but we're not abandoning the baby, and that's the quarter. And trust me, we learned a lot from everything that happened this year, and we don't make the same mistakes twice, or not even
Mhm.
mistakes. They didn't make any mistakes this year. We learn our lessons, and
Right.
they do not we do not allow we how I say this the best way. We learn those lessons and we don't forget the details.
Mhm.
So when you see him next, we're just getting started.
Well, as a big hurdles fan, it's so cool to hear that Quincy's going to do the 110 high hurdles this year because that will be the event I
Is
have no way of
that what you
seeing. I
heard?
can't wait. Please let him know that today
That's what you heard?
that's what I announced today for him, and I'm just so excited. I cannot wait for that to see that. I don't put anything past him and you guys working together. So when you say that, I'm like literally, I'm like I can't even tell you what event. There's some obvious ones, maybe, but I'm like, yeah, with those two guys. I don't know. I wouldn't put it past what you guys are cooking out there. So it's cool to see that. So, Joe, man, thank you so much. I always enjoy our time together. It's really neat. I think this is a unique opportunity for other coaches to kind of, peel back that curtain and see other sides to our sport and our profession as coaching. So it's always cool to see and learn from your experience, what you're going through and learning and growing from. Well, we get to kind of come alongside and learn those things as well as coaches that are out there. So it's really cool. And I'm always grateful for, you are anything if you aren't authentic and open, man. And I'm just always grateful for that. That's really, I'm just very humbled by you, my friend.
Man, I appreciate it, man. You make it easy, man. You make it easy, Mike C. Listen, I can do this all day, and I appreciate just how you cover the sport and help us coaches to get our voice out there as well, man. That's pretty dope.
Absolutely. Love you, brother.
You
Guys,
too.
thank you so much for being here. I'm going to leave. I'm going to sign off this week with, hey, join us next week and just stay tuned. Stay tuned to what we got going here at the Gill Connections podcast. Thanks, guys. See you later.